So, Lisa, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you here. I watched a presentation of yours that you made a few weeks ago at a conference in Riga, and I thought it was just fantastic the way that you explained this market. And this is really my ambition for this event today, was to shine a light for people that haven't necessarily had a huge experience of the cryptocurrency market and the technology, but are interested at it from a sort of a trading perspective, looking at the trading opportunities and the investment opportunities. So it's great to have you here to tell us about that and to tell us where Globitex fits into the scheme of things.
Okay, well, thank you, Simon, for that introduction. So perhaps I'll start from the beginning. Indeed, my name is Liza Aizupiete. It's a bit cryptic. Sometimes internet community refers to me as simply Liza A. So I'm from Latvia, which explains my cryptic surname. I am the managing director of Globitex, a cryptocurrency exchange managed from Riga, Latvia. We also have a team member, John Matonis, who is in London. International team of advisors around the globe, Canada, America, even Ireland. So we are a global team and we manage a global cryptocurrency exchange called Globitex. Now, what I'd like to talk to you about is very similar to what Simon referred to, which he was present at for my presentation back in Riga at Ecom 21. But I'll have a little twist, Simon, on this way around, with a little bit of more emphasis on Globitex, since your audience is more traders and may actually have interest to hear more about what Globitex can do for them. So let me just start with a little story, which I also told during the conference. You might relate to this very well, because when I tell people who are not into cryptocurrencies and who actually don't know that much about these weird, innovative things, what I do, people often say to me, "Oh, yeah, you're doing something like this virtual thing, almost insignificant thing. You know, I don't know what you're doing. It's just so insignificant." And at one point, this actually dawned on me that these friends and people of mine, actually, they do have sort of a point. So let's begin by looking at just how insignificant the cryptocurrency space is in terms of global economy. So cryptocurrencies, of course, as you have heard, consist of many, many coins. Today, I actually looked at the data, Simon, and I corrected from the previous presentation. There were about 900 various crypto assets. Now, today, according to the coin market cap, there's about 1,355. Now, the total value of these crypto assets is about 520 billion in terms of US dollars. Now, 3 weeks ago, that was about 200 billion. Now you can just see the value, exploding over the past 3 weeks alone. If we look at the world's monetary units in total, according to the CIA, this number comes to about $85 trillion. And if we compare these numbers for cryptocurrencies, now the total market cap is about 0.6% of the world's M2. Now, Bitcoin constitutes more than half. Actually, compared today, it's actually 54% of total cryptocurrency market cap, or in other words, 0.33% of the world's M2. Now, Bitcoin can be compared to gold. And if we look at gold bullion market capitalization, which is a little bit less than 8.5 trillion, which was like three weeks ago, but still that's already up to 3.2%, whereas 3 weeks ago it was 1.2 to 1.2%. Now, looking at all this, it's quite clear that despite the recent price hikes, the cryptocurrencies and their use cases are relatively insignificant. However, there is one specific cryptocurrency that leads the way. Now, you might ask, why? Why is Bitcoin leading the way? Why is it 54% of the total cryptocurrency market capitalization? Well, I think it's maybe useful for the audience to look at the basic premises, why and what Bitcoin actually is. So let's look at these. First of all, it's a distributed, decentralized network for payments. It's available globally without any geographic restrictions, no national restrictions. It's available globally 24 hours, 7 days a week. It doesn't sleep like SEPA system or SWIFT, and it doesn't rest on weekends. It's always there. It's a permissionless, consensus-based monetary unit, which means nobody made it. It just was created by people from the ground up. There was no authority who decided to impose this on people as it is for fiat currencies, because we are obliged, in fact, by law, by a decree, to pay in a certain currency for goods and services, including tax. Now, Bitcoin is an immutable asset with scarcity of strict 21 million units to be ever mined. And today, there's a little more than 16.7 million units mined. Now, of course, there's not going to be enough of Bitcoin for everyone, given that's a global currency. So it is a highly divisible one into 8 decimal units, otherwise called satoshis. Now, Bitcoin is also irreversible. This is a very important aspect, as opposed to chargebacks, for instance, for card payments. Now, therefore, it is also absolutely perfectly fungible. So 1 Bitcoin is the same across the users, across the nations. It's just one and the same everywhere. Now, although it is traceable due to being publicly accessible, you can elect not to disclose your transactions, and you can have an aspect of anonymity. Of course, Bitcoin is not all good, and Bitcoin-based protocol has endured many splits and copies. That's why we have so many crypto coins in the first place. But the main core Bitcoin also has a big drawback at the moment. There's a sustained lack of consensus in the community, which has led to forking and network instability. However, let's not concentrate on this specific aspect because it's heavily loaded. On the whole, my hope is that notwithstanding the problems that the Bitcoin is right now facing, there's probably going to be 1 Bitcoin in the end of the game. And finally, and this is quite important, back in 2015, implicitly, Bitcoin currency was basically pronounced a currency. If before it was just some cryptographic asset which people liked, then since 2015, at least in Europe, the EU Court of Justice pronounced it a currency by virtue of exempting it from the VAT. And this is a fairly important aspect to note. Well, since 2015, people have definitely been taking notice. And one of the proofs actually is a recently frank interview which Christine Lagarde gave, the head of the IMF, saying that, in fact, who knows, maybe people will one day prefer cryptocurrencies to the legacy systems. So this is quite big. It's very big when the top leader comes out publicly and admits that Bitcoin and Bitcoin-related currencies are something not to be entirely ignored and perhaps worthwhile integrating into our daily lives. You can read more on her interview. It's publicly available. Now, what about adoption? Since it's insignificant, and yet people are taking notice, top people are taking notice. What exactly can you do with these currencies? Well, first of all, you may have heard of this expression. It's a very, very popular one, which is something that's, it's also springing up from the ground up. You can enjoy being your own bank. Basically, it means that unlike having funds in a bank account, you can actually be your own bank because you can choose to send money to whoever you want for whatever services they may provide. You do not have to provide reasons or various statements to your bank why you're paying this or that amount. So indeed, you can control your own well-being. You can claim back the sovereignty of actually owning your own assets. What else? Well, you can invest and see your investments grow passively, yet exponentially, as we've seen over the last 3 weeks. You can also invest actively and spend your crypto assets. There's over 1,000 merchants that actually accept Bitcoin as a payment. This is something that I used to like to do before Bitcoin became very expensive to transact in. And this is due to the network instability at the moment. But I just loved the way the technology works. In Latvia, actually, we have a national airline company, AirBaltic, and they've been accepting Bitcoin as a payment for purchasing tickets, air tickets, airfare since 2000, if I'm not mistaken, 15 as well. Yeah, something like that. So I've been doing that quite a lot in the past. So this is one other way you can use actually cryptocurrencies today. Now, the best case in point really is something of a recent, the past 3 years, especially the past year, the buzzword ICO, or otherwise known initial coin offerings. Now, this is something that I'd like to concentrate on a little bit more and tell you what it is. Now, what are the ICOs? Well, first of all, it's an absolutely certainly that it's a new asset class. It's a little bit similar to the historical Sea Voyage partnership agreements, but it is in itself absolutely certainly a new asset class. It is also an alternative method of financing business ventures. There's been a summary made by CoinDesk that there's over $3 billion invested in 2017 alone. Now, it is a transparent, cryptographically as opposed to legally enforced ownership agreements, otherwise known as smart contracts. This, deserves a discussion, a technical discussion in itself, but I'll just skip over this and go along with it. Now, once you issue your own coin, it actually has an ability to be instantaneously available and liquid as a trading instrument. For instance, a GBX token, something that we will be issuing as a company. For us, it will be extremely easy because we are an exchange, so we will be listing it straight away. For other coins, you need to find an exchange, but finding an exchange is actually not that difficult. There are many exchanges, many coin exchanges, where you can list your coin instantaneously. Now, it is also the most profitable investment vehicle today. Of course, cryptocurrencies themselves are extremely popular way to park your fiat money at the moment. But overall, there is a nice research done by Mangrove Capital. Michael Jackson, his name is, the manager, He basically looked at all of the ICOs, the failed ones, the not failed ones, every single one of them. And he concluded if you had invested in every single one of them, an equal portion of money, you would have been up something like 13-fold. So that's amazing. You know, for the audience who are traders, you know, having a 13-fold profit in a year, it's almost unheard of. Now, for now, it's still accessible to almost everyone. There is certainly initiatives in trying to curb the investment into ICOs. Thankfully, it's not the case in Europe. We are very careful with the United States of America. China has been very negative, South Korea. However, Japan is fairly easy. I just actually came back from Tokyo. They're extremely open to cryptocurrencies as such. And indeed, even though there are some limitations, people are still free to use their digital assets the way they choose to be, i.e. they can be their own bank. Now, to me, this is extremely exciting because to me, this is a clear foundation for cryptocurrency ecosystem to develop a stable use case. I'm going to delve into that point a little more. Now, this is John, and his quote is actually quite famous on the internet. He says that ICO marketplace represents pure and licensed capitalism. I love this quote. Now, to answer the original question of this presentation, now, where do we go from here? Yes, the ICOs are prohibited. Yes, cryptocurrencies are explosive. Obviously, the regulator is looking at all of this. Obviously, there are eyebrows being raised and even legal axes being wielded. So this would just be my supposing how this future could potentially unfold. And one of these versions is that ICOs will eventually acquire. I'm not saying they would be regulated, because obviously, just as cryptocurrencies, nobody truly can regulate cryptocurrencies because they're not centrally issued. Now, in my view, ICOs will probably acquire a regulatory framework at best, but they probably will. Now, those ICOs that live on public blockchains such as Ethereum, Waves, or even perhaps in future Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is also working on scalability. And one day perhaps we'll be able to host alternative coins that people can issue themselves. These places are absolutely certainly to become the main financial centers for the global economy. So indeed, they will become the centers instead of certificate deposits that we currently have the system where it's all centrally governed. You will be able to access information openly because these public blockchains are indeed public. So with the necessary information, if you had to check any ownership, you will be able to do that. And finally, as for cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin or the most successful derivatives of the Bitcoin protocol, it is absolutely certain, at least to me and our team, which is why we're in this business, is that this system will most likely be a peaceful contender to fiat system as an alternative monetary system. Because obviously the popularity of Bitcoin truly lies in its monetary value, in its monetary system or governance value, the limited supply, which is like gold, the cryptographically secure setup. All of these aspects make Bitcoin or Bitcoin protocol-based cryptocurrencies a desirable asset. Now, the most useful tool for adoption is most certainly exchanges, because the exchanges enable these assets to be freely exchanged. So you have many coin exchanges, and there are also some that take niche markets, such as Globitex, which offer fiat to coin exchange. Exchanges allow access to democratic price discovery of these new assets. So exchanges are absolutely essential because they perform transparent transfer of capital in and out of digital assets. So with the blossoming of this new ICO space, we've seen enormous transfer of value from old businesses to new, nimble, blockchain-based businesses, which actually are performing enormous amounts of good to the society. Now, exchanges provide liquidity for trading and hedging to various industry. Well, if these exchanges are providing such instruments, for instance, CME and CBOE have recently, one has started, the other one will start soon, trading Bitcoin futures. That's good. That's the right development in the right direction. So in conclusion, exchanges are instrumental for cryptocurrency adoption. Now, what about exchanges, and in specific Globitex, the exchange that is under the management of our team? Well, Globitex is a European exchange operator, and it has a what we like to say to the public is that we have built an institutional grade cryptocurrency exchange, because until perhaps 2 years ago, and even today, we believe that the exchanges that are available are not exactly up to the par, because our own background is trading. We used to be traders ourselves. We used to trade commodities with actually physical delivery around the globe, in China, in Japan, in Europe, in America. We actually know as a team how an exchange should work. So we've put all our know-how into this product, and we believe it is actually an institutional grade worthy. Now, and recently, the Globitex group company, NextPay, has been also granted an EMI license, which is very unique in this space because it gives Globitex an ability to issue IBAN accounts and clear euro payments directly with the central bank. Now, this has been made possible by the Lithuanian central bank, and they, I believe, were pioneers in interpreting the EU directive for payments by allowing non-bank institutions to participate in the SEPA system directly. And I believe the UK central bank was the next in line to do the same. So now you can also do that in the UK as well. As a non-bank institution, and I believe it's the same one, e-money license, you can actually participate directly in the SEPA MMS system. This is a very unique point for Globitex. Today we are still running in open beta, but fully tradable 2 instruments. We offer Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash against euros, and later this year, we believe, at latest in January, we'll be adding Ethereum trading as well. Now, what are the Globitex features? Like, what exactly sets us apart from other exchanges? To you, the audience, this might be of interest simply because you might be choosing your next trading venue for cryptocurrencies. Well, first of all, if you're an algo trader, I honestly believe that Globitex is for you, because we have developed probably the best fix API that is actually available out there, at least in terms of cryptocurrency exchanges. So this would be something like interactive brokers plugin system where all you need to do is write into the existing financial information flow for both orders and market data. We also pride ourselves with a superior matching engine, which has over 1 million messages per second capacity. The most interesting one is kind of a boring item, which is reporting. To you as traders, it will probably ring a bell, because if you go onto the alternative cryptocurrency exchanges, you'll see that the reporting is something that's fairly non-developed. So we've really tried to put a lot of effort into making our reporting tool as comprehensive as possible. So you have a clear view and clear history on orders, trades, payments, and you even have something that definitely no one else has, is net asset value reports. And I'm sure if you're trading with a firm or representing a company, your accountants or managers will definitely appreciate this. Now, we also pride ourselves as a professional GUI platform for both day and night traders, because we are ourselves traders. I remember trading the nights, and the white screen just didn't do it for me. So we actually made a night and day trader screen with modular editable interfaces inside. So there are modules inside that you can place, replace, resize the way you need. Obviously, for security, we are actually custodians of the cryptocurrency that you would deposit. So we've taken a very long time to develop this product, 2 years, actually 3 years. And, in summary, this is a layered wallet architecture with multiple protection levels for cryptocurrency custody. We've built it with an idea that, we've already been hacked. So if you have that kind of protection in place, you know that there are so many layers on top of one of each other in order to truly have a secure system, which includes not only physically secure system, but also in terms of how the processes work from the inside of the company. And finally, something that already mentioned, the European EMI license for clearing euro payments and safeguarding your fiat funds directly with the European Central Bank is for sure a landmark development for a cryptocurrency-related business, because there is no other business in cryptocurrencies that have the ability to issue their own IBAN accounts. Now, what's next for Globitex, you'd ask? We have all these nicely developed products. Well, what are we going to do next? Well, the subject of today's discussion, what's next for ICOs, is actually what's the same thing that's next for Globitex. We did already jump into this fast-running train, and we are currently in pre-sale for our own token called GBX. And what it intends to do, it basically intends to the world our future plans for Globitex. So in a way, this is our marketing tool to bring the word out about Globitex, to tell the people that this is how cryptocurrencies will grow, and this is what cryptocurrencies need. Now, what do the cryptocurrencies need? First of all, we believe that Bitcoin protocol-based currencies are absolutely here to stay. But in order to sustain the cryptocurrency growth, a crypto economy growth, there needs to be certain scaling enabled. And the scaling can be achieved by providing better market access, something that we've developed, and more diversified trading instruments. Now, what do we mean by that? Liquidity issue, which is a big issue for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, although there are over 1,000 cryptocurrencies, liquidity is definitely one of the biggest issues for these coins. It can be solved, however, by developing cryptocurrency money markets and link cryptocurrencies to other assets such as commodities. Now, we believe that Globitex absolutely can be instrumental in scaling cryptocurrency economy by listing standardized instruments in money markets, like weekly, monthly, yearly, and major commodities with both cash and physical delivery, where Bitcoin is the underlying currency. Because in order for the currency to actually become relevant, it needs to be tied to various assets. And in our view, the most important assets for humanity truly is actually commodities. It's the stuff that make up our reality. It's the stuff that we eat. We all get up in the morning, we have our orange juice. We sit by our table, it's wood. We go out and get into our cars, that's gasoline, energy products, you name it. Gold, of course, precious metals, industrial metals. All of these reality-based items, those are the ones that need to be tied to cryptocurrencies in order for the crypto economy to actually be a sustainable one. Now, these are my contact details, and that's me on a good day with a good hairstyle. But before perhaps I wrap up the presentation, I'd really like to ask Simon to play a short explainer movie which visually demonstrates our vision for cryptocurrencies and where Globitex is going in terms of our GBX token issuance.
Try taking gold across a border. Try buying 10 tons of coffee with your credit card. Try sending $500,000 to a supplier in 10 minutes using online banking. Bitcoin is the unit of account for the digital age, and it's here to stay. Its users send money globally and make purchases with smartphone apps at over 100,000 businesses across the globe. Its holders invest in the scarcity of 21 million coins. Sit back, beat inflation, and watch it grow. Even so, when compared to global trade volumes, let's face it, Bitcoin is still on the runway. At Globitex, we're thinking bigger. We see a future where Bitcoin is the preferred medium of exchange for everything. Why not cheaply settle international trades with Bitcoin? Swap precious metals and commodities in seconds. Enable farmers to sell consumables like coffee in Bitcoin. What about manufacturing companies, metal miners, oil refineries, and more? For Bitcoin to truly take off and drive global commerce, it needs an industrial-scale exchange for a new kind of Bitcoiner, the Bitcoin trader. The Globitex exchange is scaling into a global spot and derivatives trading venue based on open order books with a choice of currency pairs and standardized listings for commodities and money markets, all traded in Bitcoin. Are you ready to really trade Bitcoin? Globitex is issuing the GBX utility token for settling trades on the exchange and for promoting future success. First come, first served. Are you a Bitcoin trader yet? Get in and participate in the creation of a global spot and derivatives Bitcoin exchange.
Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation, first of all. And there are questions that have been coming in through the chat box while you've been speaking. I thought it best to actually let you finish because it was a very good flow and it was quite nice just to stay with the presentation, I think, before jumping into some of the questions. So if we can now go back and take one or two of these questions, that would be great. Let's go back to Lou.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Lou.
Far away.
Okay, Lou is Lou's actually left. There we are. But I think Lou might take some convincing. What makes anyone think that riches will come from cryptocurrencies without any government intrusion? Do you have any comment on that? Do you think that the governments will leave cryptocurrencies unregulated, or is that likely to come?
It's a definite no, because no, you cannot regulate something which is decentralized and not centrally governed. But what the government can do is they can fool you into believing they issue their own cryptocurrency and that that one is going to be better than the existing one, which in fact is already a digital currency, because we're all using the pound, the dollar digitally. So in effect, it is already a digital currency. It is already a virtual currency. But a cryptocurrency, or the one based on Bitcoin protocol with limited supply and decentralized governance, is something that can never truly be regulated.
Thank you. Does Globitex have many competitors, asks Bart.
Globitex certainly has many competitors. We are a newcomer to the space, and the space is rather saturated, which is why we are devising these ways of actually bringing the message out about us. Now, one of the best competitors, obviously, is Coinbase. It's an American company. In Europe, there is Kraken, which are also euro-based exchange. But taking all of our competition, obviously, we have developed our product in view of the competition. We do have differences, fundamental differences with them. Take it from technology to GUI platform to reports to all of those aspects that I mentioned earlier. These are our differences, and of course, we do have competition. This is a free market. This is a wonderful libertarian sort of dream come true. So yes, we do have competition.
Why are you so limited in currencies? Why not more than Bitcoin and Ether, asks Neil.
Absolutely, we do have Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. We are attracting now actively liquidity in Bitcoin Cash specifically. And Ether is something that we are going to add in the next month or two. Absolutely.
With the link, Richard is asking for the link. I've just put that into the chat box for you to the Globitex promotional video that we just had. So that's a YouTube link there. Bart says, "What is the difference? What's the difference with Veritasium?"
I'm afraid I wouldn't know what Veritasium is.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Bart could what it is, then I could tell what the difference is.
Bart, I thought I'd missed something there, well, I was trying to get away with it, but no, it's Bart. Maybe you can expand on what that is that you want to know. Fantastic. Okay. Neil says, "Why something we've done?" Alan says, "Why will Globitex only use euros, or will it use pounds as well?"
Absolutely. This is one of our, if you go onto the Globitex page and you scroll all the way down, you'll see that we have quite a long roadmap, of which we've already ticked off a couple of, actually quite a few of the milestones. And adding other fiat currencies is definitely one of our goals. Now, when this will happen, we'll probably work harder on adding the US dollar first, but a British pound would definitely be one of our next priorities, for sure. And in fact, since we're working closely with the Gibraltar regulator, it will happen sooner than we expect.
That's wonderful. That's great news. Now, Linda says, how about places like Puerto Rico, where there is no electricity after the hurricanes, where cryptos will have no value? So, a sort of a practical question there. If everybody's storing cryptocurrencies on their PCs, and then a hurricane comes, how does that impact? How do you account for that?
Obviously, cryptocurrency is something of a developed world phenomenon, and you're right. When it all goes crashing down, there's no more cryptocurrency to account for. That's why cryptocurrencies will be an alternative. not a perfect replacement to existing values of exchange. But then again, I just heard someone refer to his experience in an interview in prison. There's no internet in prison that you can use either, but there's always exchange happening. So people exchange cigarettes or something else of value. There's exchange happening all the time. If facing an adverse situation of being in a hurricane, obviously you will find a way of exchanging in other ways. But for the every reality that we have today, they offer an unprecedented ability for people to be independent and exchanging the way they want, being in charge of their own funds, and of course it does depend on the availability of internet.
And does this also have a bearing on the fact that you'll be offering custodianship of cryptocurrency? So would that remove the risk of people? Because I mean, it makes me a little bit nervous. Thinking, goodness me, it's all on your hard drive, and we're just getting our heads around thinking about keeping everything in the cloud. And you mentioned Globitex being able to take custody. Is that because of one of these risks?
Now, any exchange with a specific goal in mind will have to be a custodian for cryptocurrencies because no one else will take that responsibility. Of course, it's up to you how long you keep your funds in the exchange. You don't actually need to keep them in the exchange if you don't want to use the exchange as the wallet service. So you should also have your own setup for managing your funds. But coming back to the question of how these funds are stored, the exchange has a very specific setup where it's divided into cold and hot storage. So even if if hurricane comes, supposing there's a little bit of battery left on your laptop, the cold storage is intact and can still be managed. The cold storage means it's not connected to the internet. So as long as you can work out electricity to your device, cryptocurrency still lives on because it can be managed through a cold storage. It's almost like it's printed on a piece of paper. So there's also actually coins for Bitcoin, where the secret key is glued, in fact, on a coin. And if you rip it off, then the coin is no longer valid, of course. But as long as it's glued perfectly on the coin, it's actually holds. It's like a cold wallet. It's a coin of mass nickel, and it holds its value by virtue of having that sticker glued on top of it. So there are various ways of managing it. One of it's cold storage, the secure way of managing your crypto funds.
Kapil says the Iraq war and the Libya war started because the US wanted dollar domination. What chances that Big Brother will allow cryptocurrency? I guess cryptocurrency to do the same. So this would bypass government and central banks. Sorry, Kapil, I need to answer that again. The dollar domination by the US, one of the reasons, in your opinion, for the Iraq and Libyan wars, I think you're asking that couldn't happen with cryptocurrency, or you think the Big Brother, those might use cryptocurrency in the same way? Do you have a comment?
Absolutely, sure. Well, first of all, wars happen because there is a way of financing them. If we were to be mostly cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, financing by extortionary acts would be actually much less effective and almost impossible. So having that system live in the first place would eliminate greatly the possibility of wars in general. That's one. Second, whether anybody or anything will allow cryptocurrencies to flourish. And I think it's a proven fact. It's not so much that someone will allow or disallow, it's just that this is an unstoppable phenomenon. Now, the regulator will have two choices. Either they will cautiously disallow it, like the Chinese government is looking to, but then the Chinese government is notoriously doing many other things which are perhaps a little, but maybe they're doing it out of caution. And yes, it can happen also in Europe and in the United States of America, but you cannot truly disallow this phenomenon. That's what I'm trying. It's a decentralized phenomena upheld by people. It's the people who govern it. It's not a central body of authority. This is a permissionless monetary system, which doesn't ask permission to exist. It just exists. So the answer to your question is, of course, it just exists. And yes, there might be frictions and there might be, but at the end of the day, this is probably the most unprecedented moment in the history of humanity where people can claim back their financial sovereignty, their own money. It's huge.
It just exists.
Nobody can't come like.
Okay, sadly, we're having a little bit of cutout with the audio. I hope you can still hear me. I've lost Liza temporarily. I can hear you now again, I think. So thank you for the question. Sunny says, you said you were going to link the cryptocurrency referenced to commodities with the volatility. How is this possible?
Now, I only partially heard the question, but I've had this question before, and this is a perfectly good question. Let me just rephrase this. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you for coming back.
Okay, so the question is whether this high volatility cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin has any chance of actually being properly traded. Is one that Sam.
Yeah, we're sadly we're just getting we're not quite getting full sound. It was the cryptocurrencies reference to commodities. So yes, the volatility of cryptocurrency. How with the volatility? That's right.
Okay, well, supposing that you can hear me because I can barely hear you, I'm going to give it a try and answer the question. But first of all, Bitcoin is definitely a nascent currency. So this currency is bound to be volatile, but keep in mind that volatility is on the upward. So you will see more or less upward pressure on the price relative to other fiat currency specifically, and definitely a lot of volatility to go with it, because Bitcoin is still looking for the proper supply and demand equilibrium. Now, in order to attain this equilibrium, that's why one of the first stages of our further development is hand in hand what CME and CBOE is doing, is develop healthy money markets for Bitcoin. So first of all, absolutely, this new currency needs to find an equilibrium in terms of supply and demand for it. And only then achieves a certain amount of demand, can you actually start properly using it for pricing big bulk things like commodities. But even before that, you see, it's sort of a vicious circle. If you don't add use cases to the currency, it is not in any demand for it. So in order to actually have the currency, you need to create new assets. So I see one asset class, very, very specific, and it's been working beautifully for the cryptocurrencies. Ethereum is a utility currency, Bitcoin monetary currency, or token. But in order for it to sustain crypto economy, you need to create a reality-linked assets. First of all, money market. Second of all, of course, increase in FX offering. So various other cryptocurrencies. That's another asset class. Various other fiat currencies. And of course, finally and ultimately, commodities. So you need to do that in order for it to find this equilibrium of supply and demand. And it's a bit of a vicious circle to start somewhere.
Fabulous. Now, there's a question from Richard. Well, I think it's more of a comment, a good comment. Richard says, should there be a black swan event, a nuclear war, or a global major hack, a climate or solar storm, oh dear, or an asteroid catastrophe? Only precious and other construction materials, i.e. clean water and food, will survive as bartering currencies. Crypto would be wiped out, and if servers destroyed with a massive hack or otherwise, in these scenarios, I suppose even the US dollar will be of no use. Thanks, Richard. That's cheered us all up, I think. But I think the point is true. There are some 2 points there.
Absolutely, and it's relevant for not only Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, it's relevant for everything. It's relevant for your loved ones. It's relevant for any truly material thing. Because even though cryptocurrencies are virtual, they are actually material in the sense that, they exist because there's certain material backing to it. Servers, as you say, electricity, network effect of people actually sustaining it. When there's a catastrophe, as I said, was the example of prison, you'll always, as humanity, will always find a way of exchanging things. There's always going to be something more desirable than another thing, for those specific circumstances. Just like in prison, it's made for, I don't know, washing powder or something. During the catastrophe event, there's probably going to be something that people will choose as a means of exchange. That doesn't mean that the means of exchange will disappear. It will simply take another form. And I just hope it doesn't happen. Just in our circumstances of today's internet-enabled community. Digital currencies, specifically Bitcoin, with its monetary policy, the mathematical protocol, hard-coded and decentrally managed. This is the best medium of exchange for the future. So today, this is the perfect medium of exchange. When the catastrophe comes, it's bound to be something else, of course.
Indeed. Let's count. Neil makes a good point. He's talking about other cryptos are more efficient than Bitcoin. It's very slow, etc. Surely it will be surpassed, he says.
Well, here's the thing. Bitcoin actually has forked into two cryptocurrencies, and one of them is more than the other. During the presentation, I mentioned that I used the technology myself because of the way it works. It does work for legacy Bitcoin, for Bitcoin Core, so to speak, but it does work for Bitcoin Cash. And indeed, that's going back to the point of instability and the drawback for specifically for Bitcoin. Yes, there are other cryptocurrencies which work much better. Litecoin solves many problems and it works much faster. And definitely, Ethereum has another use case. It's more of a utility token. that can also be used as a currency. And yes, it does work. It also works better than Bitcoin at the moment. But Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, or maybe another cryptocurrency, which is inevitably based on Bitcoin protocol, at the end of the day, our task as an exchange is to provide access to these demanded currencies. And in order to sustain this revolution, to add more assets to them. So it's for you as market participants to make that market and to say with your votes, with your financial votes, with your fiat money or with another cryptocurrency, that this is the currency that I favor. Here goes my demand.
Fantastic, Lisa. We're
just
answer
the question.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm watching the clock. How do we open an account? How do we interact with Globitex? Should we want to get involved and select Globitex as an exchange to work with? What are the next steps?
Wow, I actually didn't hear at all this question, Simon. Could you try and repeat?
Sorry, I was just setting up for a plug. I was just saying, if should we want to interact with Globitex as an individual retail trader, how do we go about doing that? What would be the next steps to open an account?
Oh, it's funny. I only heard the last bit, but if I understood correctly, the question is, how does a retail customer go about opening an account on Globitex? Is this correct?
Correct, yes.
So all you need to do is you go to globitex.com and you just click on a button, become a client. There you will have basic information about you, such as email, name and surname, and then you will choose to apply either for individual or corporate account. If you're an individual and you want to trade Bitcoin or just have a look at the platform, make your own opinion about it, it'll take you something like 3 minutes to register. It's extremely easy. As a corporation, you will have a little bit more intricate steps to go through. So about half an hour will be the limit. If you have all the documents ready, that is to say. So it's extremely easy. Obviously, we are EU AML compliant. We have to. Once we fully integrate with the regulated entity, we're going to have a little bit more complex onboarding, but still very approachable, very easy. And yes, you can do it today. We are still in the beta because we're still acquiring liquidity, but we're expecting to solve that problem within this year, at the latest next quarter, and launch live operations to wider public and invite wider participate quite soon.
Okay, is there Neil's?
But as I said, you can trade already today.
It's open for trading now. Is there spread trading on Globitex? Neil's asking.
What is the spread on Globitex at the moment?
Yes.
If you are a market maker, you will love the spread. You will love the spread because you can arbitrage it. As I said, we're currently still acquiring liquidity, so spread is a variable thing. It can definitely vary. If you can write into various other exchanges, then arbitraging Globitex would be a thing you would love to do.
Fantastic. Well, Lisa, we've kept you long enough. It's been great to have you participate in the event today. Thank you for coming on at relatively short notice and delivering a fabulous presentation. I'm sorry there's been one or two audio issues towards the end there, so everybody, apologies for that, cutting in and out. But the good news is that we will hopefully be hearing from Liza again in the new year with her co-founder John to tell us a little bit more about the progress at Globitex. So hopefully we'll be able to do something in January, and we won't be dogged by the internet gremlins getting in the way of the sound there. So suffice to say, thank you very much, Liza, for joining us today. It's been fascinating to learn a bit more, and you have helped us understand a little bit more about cryptocurrencies for all the traders here. So we must move on to our next speaker. So thank you very much, and I'm going to take the presenter role back from you now.
Okay, thank you, Simon, for having me. And yes, I look forward to meeting you all in person next year.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. The pleasure's all ours. Thanks again.